Hi everyone, this is Freya once more. Welcome to the channel. Another topic to discuss. This time I want to talk about, instead of the toxic masculinity type, what about the healthy masculinity type? Do you think there is a healthy masculinity type? Can we guide men to be a healthy masculine? Or we just keep telling them stop being toxic and toxic masculinity is affecting you? So I have watched a movie very recently. The movie is by, what's his name? Robin Williams, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with one of the other famous actors. But movie title Good Will Hunting. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people know this movie. Unless you're very young, then this is one of those 1990s movies with very excellent storytelling and acting. So, bottom line, Good Will Hunting is about this guy named Will who had really bad, let's say, childhood. And because of that, he developed to be a very toxic, masculine, let's say, avoidant type of guy in relationships. And because of this, he decided that life is not worth fighting for, even though he is technically a math genius, right? So, what we want to see in this movie is that he actually solved some of these very crazy mathematical equations, and no one knew it was him until he got caught solving one of these very, very complex mathematical equations by one of those math teachers at the university, who went down and asked him, like, hey, I want to talk to you. And Will, just being defensive and kind of representing his defensive mode, told the guy to F off and got angry and stopped punching things or whatever, destroying. So eventually, this guy, Will, was arrested for some reason. And then to get him out, the professor in math told him, like, you're a genius. You did this equation that no one could solve, and you solved it in like seconds. So we would like you to come and take a look at some of the equations we have here in our department. Sounds like fun. Eventually, he said no, but he agreed at the end with one condition. The professor of math told him, you have to go through therapy to be able to continue here with me in the math department. So he rejected. He started playing games with all the therapists until the last guy, who was Robin Williams, RIP, loved this guy, accepted him. So Will started pushing him, trying to play with his emotion, and eventually Robin Williams snapped, but then did not give up. So he's like, bring him tomorrow or next week. And Will was shocked. Was like, wow, I did all this to him, got on his nerves, played with his emotion in relation to his dead wife, and he still wants to see me. This is crazy. So eventually, these are the two types of toxic versus healthy masculinity. Robin Williams in the movie had his buttons pushed per se, but he did not really give up. And I think this is part of the healthy masculinity part of, you need to be able to take in a lot, but do not explode like a child and throw tantrums on your partners or people you work with and people who like you. Right. On the other hand, the toxic masculinity is seeing a place of vulnerability and taking advantage of this and like attacking for the sense of protecting yourself. So eventually, I think I have been seeing men being attacked a lot in these recent months and maybe even years. And I think they should be, because the majority of men who are pretty much boys in their mentality have not really had a good male role model to teach them what it is to be a real man. Now, to be a man doesn't mean you just have to have muscles and look good and fight, right? So that's kind of the last thing you want to do as a man. You want to avoid physical contact unless it's necessary. So I think it's kind of necessary for a man to know how to fight, to protect, and also to be able to move forward and push away those who might come and, steal, hurt, or even take advantage of him or his loved ones. So Robin Williams for me was that, like, wow, this is such a healthy masculine figure. Funny because in one of those scenes in the movie, Robin Williams was pushed to the point of explosion because Will, the science genius, the math genius, was pushing him in relation to his wife and his dead wife. And he told him, like, yeah, you just left your life on hold because your wife died. And now you're trying to tell me to live my life. How dare you? You're just living in the past. Your wife would be ashamed of you, blah, 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 blah. Robin Williams, the therapist, takes Will, chokes him, puts him in the wall, and tells him whatever things. And then he relaxes and just tells him, do not pass the red line. We are here as adults, and I know what you're trying to do. Leave. Come next week and we will talk. So the next week they come and no one talks for a whole hour because the psychiatrist or the therapist, Robin Williams, at this point, is saying he needs to break because he's always had his way and he never had to actually let himself out or open himself and be vulnerable. And he doesn't think this is good or healthy. So eventually, Will, the math genius, broke the silence and talked and started the conversation on the third session or fourth session. But eventually, they develop a very healthy relationship of give and take, of admitting to their mistakes, of the therapist showing a very good positive role model of what a man should be, meaning that even though the science department at the university wanted Will to be part of their team, that's why they got him out of prison, but the therapist had different opinions. The therapist said the boy has to choose on his own. You let him out. He is a math genius. Yes, he is. But you do not dictate what he should do with his life. You are jealous that you could not have his brain. All of your teammates are jealous that he could solve these issues in minutes, while it took you years or even months to finish some of these problems. So just because you want something he has doesn't mean he has to be what you want him to be, which actually triggered Will once more into this is what my parents wanted of me. This is what the household I was grown into forced me to do. You have to be this, you have to be this, you have to be this. And he just ran away because he's like, I don't want to be this. But living alone, he had to develop a certain sense and hatred for the world, like many people do, and turn into darkness and just play. Make money enough for you to survive and go sleep with women because you're hot or you can't afford buying them drinks or whatever. And eventually repeat the cycle. Have a job that just pays, nothing that makes you realize that you're useful in society. And have some friends who are stuck in that same predicament as you, so you don't have any other option. And because of this, you get stuck in your ways and judge every other man who's different. Those are pussies. Those are, weak men. Those are losers. And only you and your friends are the right ones. Because they agree with you doesn't mean they are actually right. And this, I think, is what we should get from this movie. This movie made me cry because I never had such a healthy male role model. My parents, my dad as a male, a Muslim Arab man from the Gulf, the peninsula of Arabia. So the most toxic type of masculinity you could find and most fragile, if I'm actually honest. The only time this guy touches me is if he beats me. So the other role of masculine figure I had was my older brother, who's a year and a half older than me. And we used to be friends, I guess, because I did not know anyone. And I was just hanging out with him, learning from him. But then he one day started getting angry. He's like, why are you hanging out with me and my friends? You're stealing my friends. I don't want you to hang out with my friends. And he just started getting angry at me for being there. So eventually I kind of just like, all right, I'll just go watch cartoons and, find my own friends. Until I started becoming friends with some people who were not very masculine, and he did not like it. And he told me, you have to come back with me to hang out with me and my friends. Like, hello, sir. Am I your property? Eventually, my brother beat me many different times for no reason sometimes. So he's the bully I had at home with my father. So I was always on my toes. I did not know what to do and I did not want to do anything. So I was kind of stuck in this predicament just like Will. I had a family or a situation where I was just told what to do. And if I dare to do anything else, I will be punished for it. Or they would tell you what to do, and then they even punish you even when you do what they tell you to do, right? So there is no pleasing these people because they're so tiny inside their heads, and the only way they get love is through forcing people to respect them. Thus, people who say, you need to respect me, I'm an old man, respect me, I'm a man of the house, you do not know what love means, honey. Like, you're so hurt. You need a hug, which is kind of funny because I asked my mother for a hug and she laughed at me and she pushed me away and she got scared of me when I was like 12, 13, 14 years old. Why? Right? And this kind of was a very sad idea of me creating also this image of masculinity for so many years because that's the only thing I knew. I had people touch me, grab my ass, corner me, and kiss me, and do all these things. Those are men. When I was a teenager or even an adolescent, like from 8 to 7 years old, all the way. I would say from upwards, I was just a sex toy for people, literally. And then I had to develop this very strong masculine face to protect and push people away. And I do not want that, but it was just the only way out of this misery and being the underdog, right? So eventually, I moved to different countries and I realized it doesn't really matter what country you're in, everyone is the freaking same. This toxic masculinity is very prevalent in every single society. It's just so freaking sad to just see this happen over and over and over again. And I'm seeing some men nowadays kind of breaking the cycle, but eventually, lots of these people are stuck in a traditional cycle of masculinity that was forced onto them. And the issue is that men do not care what women think of them most of the time, but they do care about what other men think of them. Not any man has a power over you. It's mostly the men that you care about. It's mostly your father. It's mostly your uncle, your male friends from school, and the famous guys from school, which are usually very toxic, very dominant, very loud, very aggressive in certain sense, and want to control their environment or their friends because they're right, everyone is wrong. And I think we need a bit more of a masculine figure for these young boys that is healthy, not toxic. So, my question to you, do you think you know a toxic masculine person? Or do you think your family has a person who is toxic in their masculinity because they do not want to do this, but they have this mask and they put on and they have to do it to show that this is what a man is and this is what I want to do and this is what I have to do. Um, this is a bit like triggering for me because my older brother nowadays tells my mother what she can and cannot do, right? So it's a bit scary because my mother, who's the mother, she's scared of him, and no one in this house that they live in, I don't live there, thank goodness, no one in this house like this guy. So he start pushing respect on everyone's mouth. He's like asking people to respect him because he's doing all these things that no one asked for, honestly. And then he's punishing people for no damn reason. So he's stuck in his own predicament that he's created, actually, that my dad created for him, actually, that the whole society of Arabia has created for them years ago. And their idea is, I cannot break free from this because if I do, I will be the underdog and people will take advantage of me and hurt me. So it's better to do this and it's good. Everyone has been doing it for years, so I'm sticking to this. That's a problem. That's a very big problem. So, my question again, what do you think is a healthy masculine person? whether it's a guy, whether it's a girl, doesn't matter. But we have this word toxic masculinity thrown out every single time on TV, on YouTube channels, but we don't have a model of a healthy masculinity. We need a catchy word. We need a good role model. I think Robin Williams, for me, is the ideal healthy masculine person. I watched other movies of his. One was Flubber. I don't know if you know Flubber. Flubber is an amazing movie. But the same thing, he's a scientist, he's not a bad guy, he's not cheating, but he keeps forgetting to show to his wedding. And this woman kind of is just like fed up with him now, and another guy just swoops in and try to take her. But then eventually he tells her what he done. He tried to win her over. He apologizes all the time. He tried to change his behavior, try to fix himself, and try to be there because he wants to be there, but he's also busy with other things in his life. But that doesn't make him more of a man just because he's a scientist, just because he's smart, right? And women don't care if you're rich or if you're smart. They care that you actually invest in them. You look at them through their bodies and clothes and see the real person and know what they like and know what they don't like, and take them out on dates because you like them, pay for the dates because you like them, and not because it's been written down for years and centuries. This is what men do, this is what relationships are, and this is what partners should do to one another. So let's break free from this cycle. Go free, find love, live, and tell me your experience.